they're getting real excited because we're close to the holidays. They get out tomorrow at noon.
But we're going to be talking with Tonya Lovejoy. She's a good friend of mine who is traveling the world on a sailboat. And so she's with the Beautiful Nation Project. And she's going to talk to you about her boat. She just showed you two of her puppies. She's going to talk to you about the boat, talk to you about what they're doing with the Beautiful Nation Project. And then she's also going to talk to you about the physics of sailing. How many of you go sailing or have ever been sailing? Raise your hands high. So we have some sailors in here. That's awesome.
We have some sailors, Tonya.
Nice. So Tonya's going to talk to you. I still need you quiet, please. This is the time to be respectful of listening. Thank you. So she's going to talk to you about her boat. She's going to talk to you about sailing. I have to slip in once in a while and show you some slides in her PowerPoint. But at the end, you're going to be able to come up and ask questions. So be thinking of some thoughtful questions, some good questions. And you can come up and introduce yourself when you have a question and say hi to her and ask your question. So we'll let Tonya get started. So thank you, Tonya. Everybody give her a big round of applause. Thank you for joining us today.
All right, Tonya.
Okay, super. Well, thank you all for inviting me to join you the day before your holiday break. I hope this is the icing on your vacation cake. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about how I ended up on a boat and what the Beautiful Nation Project is all about, and then I'm going to talk to you about the physics of sailing. And I will share some slides with you. Julene, Ms. Reed will help you with that, and then we'll open it up for questions just like she said. So a little bit of background about the Beautiful Nation Project and myself. I grew up on a sailboat. I was actually born on a boat, and I lived on a boat for the first 7 years of my life. I never thought that I would sail around the world. In fact, I hated sailing. It was something my parents did after we moved off the boat. I went to college. I graduated with a degree in English literacy and a minor in Spanish. And then I joined the U.S. Peace Corps and traveled to Nepal, where I became a teacher, something else I had not anticipated doing or loving as much as I do. After I got back from the Peace Corps, I found a really interesting job for a team of educators to sail around the world. And I applied for the job and I got it. And I lived aboard a sailboat, a 42-foot sailboat, and I sailed from Australia back to New York over a period of about 16 months. Went to about 32 different countries and traveled all of our world's oceans, even through the Gulf of Aden, Pirate Alley, and to the Suez Canal, which is a trip I would not make today. So from that experience, I found that sailing was not just something I was really personally passionate about. I felt like it had a lot to offer students. It was a great way to talk about science, math, culture, social studies, geography, weather, all sorts of things that I found in the classroom. I was looking for a way to connect. And so some friends of mine formed the Beautiful Nation Project about 2 years ago. Now, the Beautiful Nation Project is actually an online social network. It's built on something called a Ning platform. If you're familiar with Facebook, you know all the tools of social networking. And we call it a geosocial network because it allows us to be a lat and long, so it publishes to maps. This is an international project all over the world.
I'm going to turn my camera off real quick so that you can catch the video will catch up, and then we'll turn back on it. All right, go. It was an international project. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So we've got groups in India, and we have the students in the countries that we visit along our route. So there's one of the slides there is a slide number 2, shows a map of the world. And for this first semester, the East Coast of the United States, Bermuda, and the Caribbean. And so we've invited classrooms to participate in Bermuda and our stops in the Dominican Republic and the Puerto Rico, where I am right now. And this will continue down the Eastern Caribbean chain to the island of Dominica, past Grenada, and then over to the Panama Canal, through the Panama Canal, the Hawaii.org, like I was saying, it's a social network. We've divided it into channels so that content can feed into the channels, videos, articles, and photos. You can ask questions, join discussions, ask other students what they think about particular topics, and be connected with those students so that you can investigate your world in a more meaningful way. And I really hope that you will participate. Like I said, we've got students all around the globe participating. In the spring, we're going to be focusing on marine debris, and I'm going to talk
Once in a while, her connection just slows down.
a little bit to you'll see there are two fixtures there. One of them is what's called a CDT cast. That's a conductivity, density, and temperature cast. Device collects water samples down to the base of the seabed, around 6,000 meters is the one that I witnessed in the deep Sargasso Sea. And I report on the type of science that today's oceanographers are doing. And if you have any interest in studying science, marine science, oceanography, physics, weather, so many different avenues that you can take and put yourself in a position to be out in the world exploring and working on ships. I'm telling you, there are amazing jobs out there. So that's part of what I want to do. Is share science and then ask questions and what you can do to have those amazing paid for it. So I'm going to move on to slide 4. You should see a picture of a famous scientist named Einstein on a boat. How many of you knew that Einstein was a sailor? I don't see your video right now, but you can give a little nod or shake your head or make a noise.
I think one person knew.
Yeah. I found this really interesting. There's we talk about Einstein not being a very good student, and that is kind of debatable looking back at his records. And folks also talk about Einstein not being a very good sailor. That is also debatable. What makes a great sailor? Folks say he ran aground, but you're not sailing if you don't run aground sometime. One thing is clear, Einstein was a genius, and he did figure out, as he says, theories of relativity while he was sailing. And he appreciated sailing, whether he was good at it or not, because sailboat moves. It absolutely, and science of relativity. Now,
Tanya,
yeah,
could you go back to when you said he appreciated because sailboats move, because you stalled for a second? So go back to that and tell us more.
Sure. So if you get a chance to do any biographical research on Einstein, you'll read that he credits his time aboard his personal sailboats as times when he reflected on the theory of relativity. And I think the reason why he loved sailing so much is because sailing perfectly illustrates the laws of motion and the natural laws of force. It's an easy way to understand vectors and a lot of the principles that he went on to be recognized for with the theory of relativity. So, although sailors are not all physicists, we are using physics to make our sailboats move. Some sailors sail by feel. And if you look at slide number 5, you'll see a picture of me, one of my favorite pictures of me sailing. You'll notice the angle of the boat, close hauled, and the boat is heeled over, got great wind. A lot of folks think of sailing in a very romantic way, but it is absolutely physics at its best. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the physics of sailing, and for those of you who have the opportunity to sail, it may help you, as it did Einstein, to come to some of the natural laws of physics and have you understand them in a much more tangible way. Like Einstein, I was not a great student of mathematics, but I am a great sailor today. And understanding the physics behind sailing helps me go faster, further, and reach my destinations. So I'm going to show you on slide 6 some things about the way a boat can move. Now, there are all different kinds of boats. As you well know, there are cruise ships, there are speed boats, there are boats that do the around-the-world races. In fact, our project is named after, it comes from a quote from the first around-the-world racing sailor, a man named Bernard Mortissier. That's another awesome person to research. He said he was a citizen of the most beautiful nation on earth, the nation of the sea. So all these different boats have different ways of moving. Now, sailboats obviously move sails. They can also have auxiliary power or motors go directly into the without a motor. Power of a sailboat can never go directly into the wind. Now, most people think of sails working like a big kite and think of the wind pushing the boat along. But if you look at that diagram of the different points of sail, it's actually the angle of the sail to the wind that creates the forward motion. When the wind is directly behind the boat, it's actually the slowest point of sail because you will never be able to sail faster than the wind. Now, if you look at the two boats on either side, whether the wind is coming from the east or the west, the starboard or the port side of the boat, when the sail is closest to the center point of the boat, point of sail, which doesn't really make sense unless you start to think about a sail like an airplane wing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what makes a boat move forward when it's actually resisting the wind. It's called something called lift. Have you ever had your hand outside of a car window and had your hand move up and down as you put it outside of the car window? You feel the force of the wind, the air pressure on both the bottom and the top of your hand, and it creates directional movement. Well, it's the resistance, the wind hitting the sail, which changes the direction, alter its course. It's direct. With that acceleration, when the wind bends because of the force of the sail and the sail's pushing back against the wind, creating resistance, it actually creates something called lift. And it's exactly the same reason why an airplane flies. So airplanes aren't getting pushed from behind, and neither is a sailboat when it's really maximizing its sails. So if you look on slide number 7, you'll see a picture of a mast out to the side. And that's what a sailboat looks like when the wind is directly behind it. That's downwind sailing. That's...
Sit up. Sit up, everybody.
Are you able to get there?
Yeah, we're there.
Okay. So when the wind is directly behind the boat, there's no resistance to create any acceleration. The boat is going to travel in the exact same direction of the wind, and it's a very relaxing point of sail. The sails are all the way out. That's called wing on wing, like the wings on a butterfly or a ladybug, you could say. And that's just to create as much surface area as possible for the wind to come into contact with and blow the sails, just like a kite would catch wind. Now, sailors who are traveling using the trade wind those sailors are always going to be sailing downwind. So when I sailed across the Atlantic, it took 18 days for me to sail from Cape Verde Islands off the coast of Africa, West Africa, to Trinidad and Tobago. And for that entire 18 days, because I was traveling on one latitude line across the Atlantic, I never had to change my sails. The wind was always behind me, and we had following swells of the seas, and we never had to change our sails. The wind just pushed us along. But we also couldn't go any faster. There was nothing we could do but put our sails out and catch as much wind as possible. So that's downwind sailing. Now, the next slide that you're going to see is slide number 8. Slide number 8 starts to get into the physics of sailing and why now we have boats like the Volvo ocean racing boats that go around the lower latitudes of the planet and travel in about 23 days, going incredible speeds using trimarans and catamarans, super lightweight boats with fin keels and huge sails made out of really lightweight materials that basically disintegrate by the end of their sails, and they cost millions and millions of dollars. Those boats are engineered to go fast, just like jet planes and just like a lot of other sophisticated flying devices today. So if you look at those diagrams, see sail fall, it has to change its direction. It gets pushed. When it changes its direction, that actually is the acceleration point. So there's a formula there. Now, most sailors don't sit down and start scratching out formulas to figure out what their optimal sail direction is going to be. When you're sailing, you don't have time to think about all that or write it all down. You've got to feel the wind on your face, and you feel the wind picking up and gaining speed, and you know when your boat is doing the right thing. Now, if you're a sail maker, you think about the cut of your sail, you think about the height of your mast, you think about the weight of your boat, you think about the shape of your hull and your keel, and you can figure out for wind coming 40 degrees off the port bow exactly where your sail should be set in order to get the maximum forward momentum. And those are the formulas and the mathematics behind it. Now, this does become important when you're going to be doing something like tacking. And you've ever heard of the expression zigzagging? Zigzag is actually a sailing term. Because you can't sail directly into the wind, if you're trying to get somewhere, let's say you want to go from Key West to the Bahamas, and you've got the trade winds blowing straight at you and an easterly breeze. You can't go straight east, but you really want to go to the Bahamas. So you're going to have to tack, zig, and zag and create angles against that easterly breeze to be able to reach the Bahamas. And you want to be able to do that in the shortest amount of time because you're going to meet some friends in the Bahamas, and you want to be able to go snorkeling and have a party and be there during good weather. Create an angle that your boat turns that is the narrowest angle so that you're not wasting time making really obtuse turns going further out into the ocean than you need to. So when you do your chart work and you do your plotting, and I've got some of my tools here, I had them nearby me here. I'll see if I can find them. Oh, well, had them easy to reach here. When you do your chart work, you're going to be navigating using your latitude and your longitude grid and creating your optimal point of sail so that you can get to your destination as fast as possible. So you're using tools like this. You're using a sextant to create your latitude and longitude, and then you're plotting your course using your compass. It becomes a really important part of sailing And the only reason why I care about it is I'm super selfish, is because I love sailing and I want to explore the planet and see as many beautiful places as possible. So I do my chart work and navigation to a T because I don't want to crash into a reef and I don't want to be stuck at sea going in the wrong direction. Now on paper, it's not as exciting. So again, if you get the opportunity to sail, take the opportunity because it makes the physics that you're learning in school so much more fun, at least in my opinion. So I'm going to show you a couple more slides. And I want to give you some more examples. If you go to slide number 9, the physics of sailing is important, is because you want to have the right boat for where you want to go. If you're sailing on a lake, or you're sailing on the Hudson River, or you're sailing across the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, the Red Sea, every body of water has a different set of variables. And boats are designed for certain types of weather, waves, and wind. They have keels underneath them that are like giant fins. That keeps the boat from moving sideways. Because if you imagine the mast are creating ballast and resistance so that your boat doesn't slide sideways when you have the opposing force of the wind against the sail. It would make sense that you might just slide sideways, but you're trying to harness that wind to move forward. So your keel is what keeps your boat from moving sideways. The big ocean sailing boats have super narrow hulls because they want to be aerodynamic and slide through the water, whether they're pontoons on a trimaran, a catamaran, or a mono hull. And they also have those really long keels to keep them slicing through the water on an even point of sail, on an even, steady track. The only problem with that deep keel is that you don't get to get up close and personal with coral reefs or do some of the amazing explorations of the islands in places like the Pacific. You have to anchor way, way far out of your water. Now, go through this part. 20 feet of water, I have to put down 7 times that in chain, meaning my anchor chain has to be about 140 feet long. So if you're in the Pacific Ocean and your keel is 9 feet deep, you're only going to be able to go on the outside of a reef, which means you're going to be in about 300 feet of water, which means you're going to have 300 times 7 feet of chain out. That's too much weight. You can't carry that much chain on your boat. So that means you don't get to go to that island. So every boat is designed for a different environment and a different purpose. And so you want to understand how a boat moves. You want to know where you want to go. And that'll help you decide what boat is the right boat for you. So whether it's a kayak or a canoe or a trimaran, a 3-hulled boat, or a mono-sailing cruising boat like I'm on now. So the boat I'm on right now is called a 42-foot Morgan. Morgan is the name of the boat. 42 feet is the length. It's about 12 feet wide. And like you saw, I've got 2 little puppies on my boat. They're sleeping right now. And we've got 4 people on the boat. We've got a full keel on this boat, and it draws about 5 feet. So we can go into about 7 feet of coral reef here in Puerto Rico, drop our anchor in a safe spot, not on a coral head, and we can dive right off the boat and explore the reefs right around our boat, hop back on, pull up the anchor, and sail to another island or reef location. So this is a great boat for Caribbean cruising. So the slide number 10 I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you a little bit more information about...
We probably have about 13 minutes total left, just FYI.
Yeah, super. This is just another diagram that explains how the keel, the ballast or the weight on the bottom side of the boat, works to help balance the boat and keep it on its directional course. So those are just some of the simple things about the way the boat is designed and why folks like Einstein, John F. Kennedy, myself, lots of other people who do amazing things in different fields find that sailing is a way for them to understand the natural laws of the world. They absolutely illustrate the forces of nature. And that's one of the reasons why I love sailing. Now the next slide, number 11, is where I'll stop for questions. And that boat is actually the boat that I'm going to be on in January. That is Sea Dragon, a 72-foot steel-hulled boat. And we'll have an all-female crew of 14 women aboard. Has a marine research lab on it. And the quote there is the reason why, again, you have a lot of people enjoying the art of sailing and also appreciating the way that it involves you in science just through that physical participation, which is awesome. You can't change the direction of the wind, but you can change the direction of your sails, and that is a metaphor for life. So I hope you all will enjoy asking me some questions now. I'm going to walk up on deck and give you a little view around here in Puerto Rico. I'm in Salinas, Puerto Rico, on the southern coast. And what I have found is that it is covered, or rather, the shoreline is built from a lot of mangroves, which are really interesting plants. I've been visiting schools here, doing salsa, eating mofongo, and learning a lot about the culture of Puerto Rico. If you have any friends from Puerto Rico, although they're connected with the United States, it is a very unique and special place, a nation of its own. I'm going to walk my camera out, and you all can think about some questions here.
Two have been there. Two have been to Puerto Rico.
Nice. I'm going to try not to make you dizzy like Blair Witch here, and let's just see if I can get out of the boat here without getting too dizzy. It's pretty bright out here. This is probably look. My camera steady out yet?
No, we're okay right now.
Okay.
So far, so good.
All right. So this is the cockpit of Imagine, which is the boat that I'm on right now. And Imagine, like I said, is about 42 feet. It's about 12 feet across, and it's called a ketch because it has two masts, one small sail in the back and one forward sail. We don't have an autopilot. We do use GPS to navigate, but we pretty much rely on hand steering. So this is the view from the cockpit. And you've got our compass here and the wheel. I'll give you the view as if you were steering the boat here. So now you're at the helm on your around. I'm going to break and let you all ask some questions since we've got just a couple of minutes. And we will definitely get a chance to
All righty, we have about 10 minutes.
love to talk with. Yep.
So you can ask questions that are totally just about living on a boat, sailing on a boat. Come on up here and introduce yourself. Just say your name and ask your question. Look at the camera on the computer. Somebody else who wants to ask a question can come around here and be ready to go. So it can be questions about sailing. It can be questions about just living on a ship. It can be about the dogs. Anything you want.
So I can prompt you on a few things. All right, someone. I'm going to go back down below just because.
Quiet. So he's going to just say his name and ask his question.
Hi, my name is Nicholas.
Hi.
Like I wanted to do all you eat is fish.
What do you eat on the? Thank you.
That is an awesome question. I wish that all we ate was fish. That would mean that we were catching fish, but it's actually really hard to catch fish from a sailboat. I don't know if my camera is still on right now or if you can hear me.
It is. We see you.
But we travel in an average of about 5 nautical miles per hour, and to trawl and catch fish, you usually need to be going about 6.5, 7 knots. So we've got to have a really good day of sailing. I'll show you the galley. This is where we cook on the boat. This is our stove. And this is what it looks like. The dirty washed yet. We've got spaces on the boat. Every seat, every little space has an opening below it. And I won't take up too much time showing you all those little spaces, but basically we buy as much food in cans as we can, and dry grains and rice, and we try to cook from whole ingredients. And sometimes when it's really rough, all we do is eat crackers.
Alrighty, go ahead. Yeah, they go.
Hi, I'm Lauren, and I was wondering where you get your drinking water from.
Good question. Thank you.
Okay, Tanya, I think you froze a minute.
That is well. Have a water.
Yeah. So the answer we didn't hear if you started talking. You can talk now. Okay.
Okay, sure. So some boats have a water maker on board, which is works like a desalinator and uses pumps. This boat is an older boat. It's from the early 80s, which makes it super safe because they built the boats really thick-hulled. But it doesn't have a water maker. Those are kind of expensive. So we actually carry 130 gallons of water on board. And every port that we go to, fill our water, wash of our dishes, and we don't shower very much while we're at sea because we'd rather drink that water. And we relish our hot showers with fresh water when we get to a place where we know we can get more water.
Okay, another question? Somebody want to come ask another question? Come on up. Guys, make room for us and get through. Good job.
Hi, I'm Connor. Have you ever seen like a whirlpool or like a tidal wave?
Oh, nice question. Actually, am I all caught up here?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. One of the most awesome parts of the last circumnavigation I did was traveling through the Straits of Malacca, and that is between the countries of Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, that area. And so I was off the coast of Singapore, and I saw a water spout. Water spout comes off the water, looks like a giant whirlpool, except instead of going down, it's going up. And no one else seemed really worried about it. I was actually quite terrified because I thought, oh my gosh, what if we run into it? I had a Dorothy in the wood in my head of the boat being sucked up and spit out. I have been fortunate enough to not see any other natural disasters at sea. I was in Thailand right before the tsunami, not at sea when it hit, and then I was in Sri Lanka a couple of months after the tsunami, and I saw trains in trees and schools demolished and the devastation on land firsthand, but I did not witness that myself.
Hi, I'm Maggie. What's like the prettiest place that you've ever been to?
Ooh, tough question. My favorite Anchorage, so places on land, for me, what makes them beautiful are the people that I meet, because I am telling you guys, the world is full of beautiful places. Every single country has something amazing to share. waterfalls, mountains, you name it. They're all gorgeous in their own right. But Anchorage in the Maldives, which are some endangered islands you might read about in the Indian Ocean, there were schools of giant rays, manta rays, and every morning they would jump and spin and do flips around the boat. And I've never seen anything like it to this day. Crystal clear blue water and these huge, huge rays spotted with white with black spots, and they look like they were flying in the air, and then they would gracefully land back down in the water. Very cool. I loved that Anchorage particularly.
Hello, I'm Sid.
Hi, Sid.
Is there any incident where you've never had food on your ship?
Question.
Sid, I will work hard to never make that happen. Actually, recently, so we're a team of 5 people. If you go to the Beautiful Nation Project website, you'll see there's a tab called Crew, and you'll see the rest of our crew. 2 of the girls, Shannon and Masha, have been at sea for 45 days now.
Okay, you had to slow down there. We heard 45 days.
It's been saying Landy.
Yeah, you might want to catch up after 45 days.
Sure. So 45 days right now. They are sailing about 500 miles of Hawaii. They left from Panama just about a month and a week ago. Vision for that journey. You can track their journey on the website. We'll have all the videos in January, and all of the, they caught a huge sailfish, talking about fishing. They were relying on being able to fish about 7-foot sailfish. But in provisioning for them, Sid, what we had to do was actually think of worst case scenario. If there was no wind and they just motored, how long would it take them? 55 days. 4 people on board eating 2 servings of rice a day. And then we went to the store and we multiplied out kilos of rice, how many cans of tuna, cocoa, flour to make pizza. Probably no fresh food after the first 2 weeks unless they caught it, caught a fish. But I'm optimistic that they are still via sat phone. They're having a good time.
Well, Tanya, we probably need to say goodbye to you today, but thank you so much. Can you give her a big hand? And what is there a phrase that sailors say for fair winds or safe sailing, or is there something that they usually say?
They do. They say fair winds and following seas.
Okay. All right. Well, fair winds and following seas. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Julene. Have a great holiday, everyone.
All right. We'll talk to you soon, Tanya. It was awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.